Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Marissa, which is the founder of Marissa Alexandra Style. So Marissa, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make the first million?
Hi guys, thanks for having me today. 5 steps to get you to a million. I think the first step would be to keep iterating. You know, very, very rarely do things go according to plan. And I see this with a lot of entrepreneurs. We're hesitant to start moving until we have a solid plan. But really, like, fortune favors the speedy, right? So you got to start moving. So iterate, keep going. Just be quick on your feet and don't be afraid to take that next step, even if you don't have it all figured out just yet. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is surrounding yourself with the right people, like getting into a network that is going to be supportive to you and your goals, but also is going to show you the path to success, right? They say success leaves clues. Get around people who have done it, you know, like listen to people who've been there, right? Like do your homework and surround yourself with people who have traveled that path that you yourself want to travel. So that's number 2, is getting around the right people, the right network. Number 3 would be, man, entrepreneurship is like such a gnarly roller coaster. Like there's highs,
tell me about it.
low lows, right? It's kind of, you know, a little bit like parenting, right? Like some days we're high, some days it's super hard. And like having the wherewithal and the right mindset to support yourself, to keep your head in the game and continue to show up for yourself in your business by being that self-encourager, I think is a really, really crucial step to being an entrepreneur that goes the distance, that doesn't burn out, is being able to show up for yourself that way. The third would be, and in my work with branding and personal styling, is getting super clear on your messaging, right? If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. And so really clarifying and distilling what your messaging is. And there's a lot of ways we put strategy into doing that online, but being able to talk, to iterate, to put words one-on-one with people in real life, like being able to know and live your message inside and out in real life is a big deal. And so that's my last tip, is being able to translate that message to your personal life, to your real life, really embodying it, starting from a place of authenticity with your brand so that it doesn't feel like a separate thing from yourself. So being able to have that message clarity, and then being able to embody that and translate that into how you live your life and how you interact with people on a one-on-one basis is super, super huge. And that's what's going to help you stand out by being that authentic brand, that authentic person that makes sense online to people, but also in person when you're across the table from them.
So Marissa, tell us, how you end up becoming an entrepreneur? What happened?
That's a funny question, right? When someone's in an accident, you're kind of like, what happened? What happened here? So here we are.
Why you don't have a job like everybody else?
What went wrong in your life that you chose to be?
You crazy?
Yeah, exactly. And we are all a little bit crazy.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I think just kind of seeing a need, right? Like being in the business world and seeing a need, seeing a blind spot, and then wanting to, like, desiring to help. I think that's the biggest thing, is those are the best stories, right? When someone's like, I went through something and it was super hard and I didn't have the help that I need, so I created it for other people. And so I think that entrepreneur journey starts from a really deep personal place. And that's maybe why we're a little bit crazy, is because we have so much conviction and so much passion, because it comes from a really personal place of desiring to help others.
I agree 100% with you. Every entrepreneur has something within themselves that says, one day I'm going to do it. And
Yeah.
I can do better. This is always within ourselves. However, do you have any role model? Your parents entrepreneur? Do you have a friend, a book? Because, I had it that, and I always knew that I want to do my own thing, that I want to make something amazing, that I can help a lot of people. Yeah. But I have this within me, but I need a little bit of push. Yeah.
Mhm.
And in my case was this book of Rich Dad Poor Dad of Roy Kiyosaki,
Mhm.
and that gave me the last push that I needed. So where do you who give you this little push? Do you have a family? Anybody in your family entrepreneur? Any friend? Any book?
Yes.
Any TV
Yes.
show?
I
What
mean,
give you
actually,
this little push that we always need?
all of the above, really. And sometimes it takes like, those nudges from, God or the universe to, the guy that hit you over the head sometimes with it, right? So I am super blessed to have my aunt is a successful entrepreneur. She built a $50 million relocation business, and
Wow.
able to watch her do it was like so inspiring. I don't know that I would have the audacity to
So what
think that
happened when you
I
were a
could.
kid? You would see your auntie work, and you say, "Wow, um, one
Yeah.
day I can be like
It
her,"
can
right?
be done, right? It can be done. And so seeing that is possible. And then also I'm involved in an entrepreneurial network called Women Network. And the goal of that organization, their mission that they're like incredibly passionate about, is helping 1 million women achieve $1 million in annual revenue. And
Wow.
so they are
I need
powerhouse
bring them
women.
all of them. I want them all of them in my
Okay.
class. Yeah, we need more women
Okay.
here. Too
Yeah.
many boys already. Yeah.
But that's the goal of that organization, is kind of investing and developing these women and giving them training to achieve that. And so I think seeing it done, and then also being in camaraderie, being alongside women who are making it happen too, is what continues to make me think, continues to keep me believing. Having that like support system around you and being able to see it done as an example.
I think it's big help to be part of the community, right? To be part
Totally.
of the
Absolutely.
community, but you also have to be brave to decide, oh, I want to be part of that community, right? Because my parents, they're teachers, and all what I hear in my house all the time were, oh, you have to go to university all the time. You need to have the best degrees in university, so then you're gonna have an amazing job. Your
Mhm.
life will be sorted. So I went to university, I studied really hard, and I got a degree in chemical engineer, and I never practiced chemical engineering in my whole life. So so the whole thing, but my parents were happy that I got a degree, right?
Absolutely. Right. Right.
They were very happy that I did that, but at the end of the day, it didn't do that much for me. However, so sometimes when we start our journey as an entrepreneur, sometimes become a little bit lonely if we don't have a community uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
that that supporting what I call it an empowering context where we have a group of people with the same goal, and then you're not a stranger anymore. You're
Right.
talking the same subject that everybody is talking, and we are heading to the same goal. So how do you find this network?
Women Network. So it's actually a global network. We have chapters in Canada, in Australia. We had our annual conference just a couple weeks ago in
Who told you
Dallas.
about it? A friend?
There were
Find it yourself
um,
in Google?
my aunt, who is an
Ah,
entrepreneur,
very good.
connected me
Very good.
connected me. But yeah, it's a great group, and they're all over the world. So definitely worth looking into for that community space.
You see, it's always that's why we do in this series of podcasts, because it's always, even if your aunt or maybe somebody listening this podcast, if they can find us a role model that, wow, I can do one day I can do something like that. This initiate the spark, right? Because you see, well, somebody else has done it. It's unusual.
Sure.
Mm, most of the people are going to work and have a job, but I have a role model of someone that is doing something different and is
Right.
producing different results. So maybe I can do that. So I think that one of the reasons that we do this podcast is that the greatest, I think that we can have more successful entrepreneurs if we can guide the entrepreneurs, especially women, where they can go, where they can hang around, what are the
Absolutely.
supporting communities that
Yes.
so they don't feel. alone, because it's even hard for men, right? When I become an entrepreneur by accident. I didn't even know nobody in my um in my family is an entrepreneur.
Right.
So I wanted to do it. Yeah, I didn't have a model, read that book, and then here it was. I have a product, I sell it, I'm making a profit, and there you go. I'm in business, and now I had to learn a lot of gazillion things that I didn't have any idea that even exist. And I am my own, right? So I think that so what message do you have, Marissa, for women that they're listening to this podcast, that they're trying they're thinking to start a business, or they are having a small business but they're not growing? So what message do you have for these women, and how they can get some help or support?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it is daunting. But that's part of it, is being able to allow yourself to try. And so I think being able to start putting feet to your plans, stop writing it down, stop playing office, get out of your office, start talking to people, start connecting, and start doing, right? Start implementing, because that's how you're going to learn a lot faster. That's how things are going to come together for you a lot faster. And so that's the phase that a lot of I think side businesses never really get out of, is like, there's such good ideas and there are things we could talk and talk and talk about because we're so passionate about it, but we really don't know if that's viable, if that's really going to help our intended audience, until we start putting feet to it. So my advice would just, hey, start, keep going, keep putting feet to it, and be a learner, be a listener, right? I think we get in our heads and we start to iterate and think about what our audience needs or what our client needs, and we don't pay a lot of attention to what they want, because sometimes people are not buying what they need, they're buying what they want, right? Like what they
Absolutely.
think they need, right? So being able to get good at hearing and what are people gravitating towards, and packaging yourself and your services as something people want, but also giving them within that what they need, right?
Mm.
So I think that's a big lesson that I've learned too, is being able to kind of tell the difference, but then serve both.
Okay, so tell us how you end up in fashion, because one thing is, oh, I want to become an entrepreneur, but now to pick this industry, which is
Right.
it's extremely competitive and tough.
Yeah.
So how you end up in fashion?
Yes. So I went to film school. That's my background, is in production. And my skills grew as I would read a script and I would understand a story and I would understand where we were trying to go, the message we were trying to send, and align the visuals, align the set design, align the costumes to tell that story. And so now my work is in personal branding. And so I connect with professionals and clients, and we write their story. We write their script. We figure out what is it that we're trying to communicate about you and about your business. And then we align their visuals to support that story, because I have seen so much inconsistency in the brand and the story we tell online, and then how we show up in person for the meeting, right? How we look when we show up for the webinar or the masterclass or the interview. So being able to bridge that gap for entrepreneurs is where I have found a niche, is being able to interpret and develop and take a digital brand to a brand presence, because I think that's kind of been in the blind spot for a lot of entrepreneurs for a while.
And absolutely, I think that the personal branding and the what we call it visual identity, right?
Mhm.
I think that people, let's start from the beginning, that more and more people, this concept, for example, from a personal branding, as
Mhm.
my understanding, is actually very relatively new, right?
It is.
I have a client that owns 300 supermarkets, yeah,
Mhm.
and for so many years. And yes, before it doesn't matter his personal brand. He can be on the back of his brand of the supermarket, and everything is fine. The business run, there is a brand, and you don't need to know who's the person behind the brand, and everything was fine. But in
Mhm.
today's market, it doesn't work like this. A kid with 21 years old can wipe out a 30 years, 50 years, 100 years business like that, just with the power of community and personal branding and these new techniques. So now entrepreneurs, we have to understand that there are two things. There are the corporate brand and the personal brand. And the more you raise your personal brand, the more your corporate brand will raise, because the consumer are getting very savvy, and they want to know who's the person behind. And then it comes the terms of consistency. Like you said, if you confuse them, you lose them.
Absolutely.
If you confuse them, you lose them. So if your brand represents something and then you show up to a meeting wearing something different, or showing in a different way that people are not expecting, that inconsistency, people get confused, and you get confused, you lose them basically, right?
Right. Yeah, we interpret that as like a red flag, right? We interpret that as not being trustworthy. And so we would never, as business professionals with integrity, promise our clients something and deliver them something else, right? But that's in essence what we're doing when our LinkedIn profile picture is from 18 years ago. When we're showing up online as the best we've ever looked in our life, and I think to your point, the public is getting a lot more savvy, like with the increase in the prevalence of AI in marketing, in advertising, like we're craving as a consumer authenticity. And so if we can't tell that your photo is a real person or a computer generated image, like I'm not buying,
Absolutely.
And so being able to show up in a way that, is still a professional image, right? Like I'm not advocating for showing up in sweats, because that's, it's not you do you. We're not there. But it's a polished version of yourself, right? If we're starting from a place of authenticity and integrity, then you can show up in both places and still be recognizable. Because the other thing that I've noticed is we spend a lot of time and money and strategy into building that digital persona. But if someone can't stop you in the middle of the freezer aisle at the grocery store and connect you to your website, like that's a waste of marketing dollars, right? Like that's then you do brand photos, is that so people connect you to your brand, right? And if we're showing up in a way that's not authentic to who we actually are, and people can't make that connection, like it's just a waste of resources.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, the branding and the personal brand it becomes more and more important. I think that we see things like, for example, even in United States, right? The Donald Trump wins because he has a very strong personal brand, regardless of the political views. He has a strong personal brand. The other one that works a lot with her personal brand and has become really amazing has been Michelle Obama. I think now she's more famous than him. Yeah,
It's better hair for sure.
She's after they left office. Michelle have been working in her personal brand, and she has been launching books and talking more in social media and have this consistency that you're talking about.
It comes back to that message clarity, right? Like what's the story you want to be telling? What are you here for? What are you trying to communicate? Absolutely.
And the point like this, like Michelle started not so long ago, but because it's a consistency in the message, in the branding, in the title of her book Becoming, and everything, the whole message goes together. Now a large her personal brand have grew huge. I know that because she went to the O2 in London to launch her book, and there is the O2 the O2 arena, which is something that where Michael Jackson was going to perform, and this is where the big concert.
Big thing. Yeah.
She made records to fill.
Wow.
And in 3 days, the whole thing was full. And well-known musicians take them 3 weeks, 4 weeks to fill the whole thing. So the point, so how she managed to do that is because she has a very strong personal brand. She has been
And that's something else too is, I mean, we strategize getting in front of the right eyeballs online, right? But being super clear in your personal brand, in your, embodying your message, in how you show up and you dress for work, like that is a vetting process too, right? Like your people are going to respond to it. Like not everyone is into bright yellow. Apparently you and I are both are, so good for us, right? But as a stylist, not everyone's going to gravitate to something that feels kind of like loud and funky, and that's okay. Because the people, I'm like vetting that process. By the time I have a conversation with someone, they're in, right? Because they know what they're getting, right? And to your point, I think that's Michelle Obama has done a great job of being like, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm about. And, like it or not, her people show up, right? And it's not necessarily that her people is every people, but she's done a good job about clarifying that messaging so that you're vetting that audience already.
And now she can actually influence. Yeah,
Yeah.
she can influence. I think that some people that were talking about if she was gonna run for president of US. And well, if I know that she said no, and now somebody else is running. But if it becomes the case that she's gonna run, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be difficult to win against her because her personal branding is so sharp, so clear, and so well done that in very short periods of time. That's the other thing, that you don't need a gazillion years to build a strong personal brand. Look how Michelle had done it in a short period of time. Yeah, and Trump also, right? And
I mean, his people are his people, right? Because he's been
well,
has not, hidden his message at
for
all. He's
sure,
very
for
clear.
sure, he has a clear message. For
Yeah.
sure, he
Yeah.
show up always in the same way, and for sure, the people that follow him, he made sure that his message is clear, and people that are not confused when
Correct.
listen to him.
Yes, correct.
If you're either with him or against him, but you don't have, he won't confuse you. Like again, if you confuse them, you lose them. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's power in that, like we
Absolutely, you can become a president of the whole country.
Yeah, and that's the entrepreneur lesson too, right? Is like it's okay to not be for everybody, right? The sooner you figure out who you are and what you're about and who you're here to serve, the faster those people will find you. So the nugget.
I think that the one I hear, I think was last time, one guy was competing against racing against Donald Trump, and the guy put 1 billion and he couldn't beat him. And I think that Donald Trump said, you said to that guy, you thought that was easy. It's not that easy. But what he was trying to tell him is, not even with 1 billion, you can put down my personal brand. My to build the personal brand that I have, you need more than 1 billion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he didn't say that. He said, well, it's not that easy to just put the billion. But that's the truth. The truth is not even with 1 billion, because his personal brand worth more than that is creating in a way that even if you have that billion and you use it effectively, and that person have a strong personal brand, can compete against him, can raise him. But if you have money and you don't have personal brand, forget it.
Yeah. And that's business too, right? Is like sometimes the businesses that have the largest, startup capital and the most funding, like they aren't the ones that make it, right? And so it's not just a money game. It's not just about having the most resources. It's about
you have these startup founders, then you have these founders, tech founders, people looking for funding, and they're like, man, what I cannot find the money. I have everything. I'm taking off the boxes. And every time that I'm in front of the investor, they are like,
right.
So what happened is like that. They have the feeling that something is not right. They don't know what is it.
Yes, correct.
And what is it is that inconsistency. Could be that you put a picture in your LinkedIn with family, friends, drinking, a birthday, you name it, or how you show up dress, or and so all these little things make a huge difference, because at the end of the day, if you're in business, I'm sorry, you have to show up, to build your personal brand, consistency with your business. I'm dressing in yellow, I only dress in gold and On purpose because my logo is gold and purple, as you can
Sure.
see. So,
Yeah.
so my clothes is I always dress in the same colors of my logo. That's why I'm.
Right.
Would be very strange that you see me with another colors wearing all the time. That is not this one because
Sure.
we want every time that even in the metro, even in the metro, I've been sitting, you know, in London. Sometimes the metro, I'm taking a trip, and I have people that have grabbed me by the hand and said, "Harry, Harry,
Yeah.
that's you."
Yeah. Right.
And yeah, I said, "Man, I knew that was you. You dressed in purple. I knew that was you. Look, I
Yeah.
saw you speak. I saw you speak 2 days ago, with 2 years ago, with Les Brown. Look, I took your advice. These are my children. I'm making a lot of money. I'm so happy. Let's take a picture and everything." And I'm thinking, how he managed to recognize me
Yeah.
in a
Well,
pure.
that's
He
the power.
knows.
That's the
He
power,
knows that I dress
right?
in purple. He
Yeah.
knows.
Well, I would also say I think you're selling yourself short because it's not just colors, right? And that's like I feel like the conversation around branding for so long has been, color, fonts, mood
Agree.
board, but it's really the essence, right? Because you could wear yellow and not have it come in at the same caliber that like your brand essence is, right? So it's not just your brand logo colors. I've had, women come up to me at conferences and they're like, look, I'm so on brand. I have blue fingernails and my logo is blue. And I'm like, does
We're not
does
there
blue
yet.
does blue fingernails say what you wanted to say? And like it can actually hurt us. We don't have to like totally like wear our brand colors head to toe. It's showing up in a way that is congruent, right? Is it polished? Is it professional? Is it, fun and lively and engaging, right? So there's another layer that's not just about, matchy colors. It's really like portraying that essence and carrying that through, even when that's why you can show up on brand when you're picking up your kids from school, when you're in the grocery store or the shop,
Absolutely.
as you
Absolutely.
say.
Everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's about that brand essence, that brand identity. Are
The
you
way of
like
being.
correct?
And it has to be consistent with the product that you have, right? If you have a product that that is live, that is full of fun and
Yeah.
joyful, this you have to show up like that, because if you show like serious and things like that, it's a mixed match, and it's a
Yes.
visual, regardless. Like, I agree with you, regardless, the visual identity play a huge part of the whole equation,
Mhm.
because people see you, and they can have a perception um, about you, right? When they see you, yeah. For me, when they see me, I'm hoping that they get a lot of fun. That we're gonna have a lot
Yeah.
of fun. That this is something very interactive, and I'll try to portray the message with
Right.
across all our channels, and our places that we distribute content. However, it's how you show up in person, how you show up in the podcast, how you show up in everywhere you go, what books you write. Yeah.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit more about this. I read in your bio that you are an editor for a magazine. Tell us a little bit more about this.
So I write a style column, and it's, sometimes it's very business forward and it's about the professional world, but sometimes it's just purely about style and figuring out what looks good on you. And what I love about what I do is there's so much psychology involved in it, and that can play in the business world, but it can play even for non-professionals too. Being able to show up in a way that you feel confident, right? And it's, I it doesn't take a keen eye to realize like fashion and style industry has changed a little bit in the past couple of years. Like, do we dress different in 2024 than we did in 2018? Oh, for sure. So being able to come alongside the public and help them learn, I feel like we're almost like relearning what's appropriate to wear in public. after 2020, we just, did the sweatpants thing for a while.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of fun. Like it was a little bit of a relax, it was a moment to kind of reset. And through a lot of the challenges, I've heard a lot of stories of people, starting new businesses and finding themselves and getting healthier, right? There's been some, beautiful stories of triumph that have come out of that really hard season. In addition, I think we're just kind of now starting to feel the psychological effects of what, not getting dressed has done to us, right? Like you deserve to see yourself as a leader. And so we need to put on pants with a zipper. Okay. We need to be able to believe in ourselves the way we're talking about ourselves online. So it's as much about that external communication of what your brand is and what you are about as it is like reinforcing that to ourselves. Like we were talking about, this is not a journey for the faint of heart. Starting a business and scaling is not an easy thing to do. And being able to use the act of getting dressed each and every day as a way for you to encourage yourself, to support yourself, to affirm to yourself that you can do this, that you are a leader, that you have something to offer the world. Like that's such a missed opportunity, I think. So a lot of my, speaking events and writing is for the professional world, but also just for, the public at large too, because there's so much power in what we wear.
Yeah, and the education. So what are the 5 tips that you can share with the entrepreneurs out there to improve the personal brand?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm such a context girl. Like I always, with my clients, it's like, even if we're doing, buying a dress for an event, I'm starting at, what are your core values? Like I thought shopping. I'm like, no, what are you about? So really getting clear on like, what are your core values? What is a non-negotiable for you? What do you really value about yourself? What do your clients really value about you? What are you bringing to the table that's different than other people, right? So getting clear on those 2 things is super important. And then how do we showcase that? So if your business is, if you're in, the tech industry and you're all about like innovation, like you need to make sure that your outfit is also saying creative, cutting edge innovation. Like we don't want to be showing up in a polo from 2002, right? So translating that essence of your business, core values, mission into your visuals, into how you get dressed, so that is in alignment, so it's congruent with what you're offering. And then being able to not be afraid to not be vanilla. Like I see, like there's kind of two camps when it comes to media appearances and branding photos and, marketing assets. People either show up so glammed out, like the best they've ever looked in their whole life, and they will never look like that again. Or we show up too vanilla. We show up in a black blazer. And it's like, that's really not telling me anything. Like you might work in an office, like that's all I'm getting from that photo, right? So being able, like allowing yourself the freedom to show up in a way that's maybe different than other people, giving yourself, even inside the corporate world, and like, so brand presence might take the form of executive presence. If you're looking to move up in the corporate ladder, figuring out what is unique about you as a candidate. If you're looking to get into like C-suite, what's going to set you apart from the sea of other people that could be promoted. So figuring out what that is about you and being able to bring that into your visuals. Are you super detail oriented? Are you super innovative and creative? There's really interesting ways that you can weave that in, even to the most of professional dress codes.
Yeah, and then and then start this secret magic, which is the consistency in what your
Yep.
values, what you represent, in
Mhm.
what you're wearing and everything, and this is what it becomes a key element to build your, what we call it, your personal brand. There are people out there that that they have this way of consistency. Yes, we have here in United Kingdom an entrepreneur, Richard Branson, right?
Yes.
And very fun. He's very funky, and you always expect him, to come out with something cool, yeah, and
Right.
been in music, things like this. So On the other hand, we have entrepreneurs out there that they um, they say, well, I'm very busy with my business. I don't care about my LinkedIn profile. I don't care about my Facebook. I don't care what I wear. I just need to meet my numbers. I want to sell my products, and I don't have time for this.
Mhm.
So, what can we tell to these entrepreneurs?
Yeah, absolutely. So I
Have
would say,
loads of people say this. And I find in all industry, from real estate to tech to lot of business, we a lot of entrepreneurs have this view. So what is the message you have for them?
I would say that there's still a missing piece to the puzzle, and it's a missed opportunity for yourself. I mean, like I have a pair of heels that I wear for my Zoom client meetings, because does anyone see what's on my feet during my Zooms? They do not. But I talk like I'm wearing some smart heels in the meeting, right? And so
Absolutely.
my counter would be like, hey, put some intentionality into what you're wearing for a week, right? Just do it for a week. Like, let me give me a shot here. Do it for a week, put some lipstick on, or, dress in a way that feels like you, that's maybe a little bit more polished, and see if your productivity doesn't increase. See if your confidence doesn't increase. See if you're not like thinking outside the box, if your creative thinking juices aren't flowing more, right? So as much as it is about like that public perception of you and your business, I really think the other equation that we're missing out on as entrepreneurs is that inside piece, is that way that we can encourage and support ourselves. And so that would be my challenge, is try to
Also
yeah.
tell us what the team think about us, what the client think about us when we did this little change, and
Yeah.
and you would discover something amazing. I think that the missing piece, I think, Marissa, and this is something that we have to cover, is that the entrepreneurs have this bit that they have to work on themselves, right?
Yeah.
And if you're in business, you cannot be in business halfway. You
Yeah.
are you are in business, you need to be all in, or better just go and find a job.
Yeah.
There's no such a thing. Yeah. I love to do this podcast and to do this interview, right? But when I started my business career, the last thing that I thought is that I was doing public speaking, writing books, doing a radio show, you see. But this is what is required if you want to build a business, if you want to have people, if you want to build your personal brand, which is important to be in business as well as your corporate brand. This is what is required, and if we decide this path, we cannot be halfway. We cannot be, well, a lot of people can tell you, like, oh, if it's a video podcast, no, because I don't want to show my face. I don't want to show how I dress. Or if it's or a TV interview, right?
Yeah.
And people, we, like you said, you miss opportunity. And the sad thing about this is that you're giving a lot of advantage to your competitors because they are not scared.
Yeah.
They're willing to do whatever it takes. They're willing to call Marisa and say, okay, I hear you. I'm on board. Talk to me. Tell
Yeah.
me what I have to do. Your competitor, this is how they behave.
Right.
You're not gonna say, "Oh, I don't want to show my face," or "I
Right.
don't when I don't gonna pay attention to my clothes or what I wear because that has nothing to do with my business." Your competitor, they're listening and they taking completely different approach because they understand that they are in the business 100% in, and they will do whatever it takes, including to start this journey, which is building your personal brand, that you will know that is the biggest asset that a human being can have. That is, look, we started to talk about the president of United States because uh, if you can become the president for the whole country if you have a strong personal brand. So imagine what can you do for a business if you have a strong personal brand. And for example, Richard Branson, very strong personal brand. Michelle Obama, very strong personal brand. Donald Trump, very strong personal brand. Even Barack Obama has personal brand. You look for the business leaders, right, out there. Elon Musk, huge personal brand. A lot of people, everything he does, people are throwing money at him. It doesn't matter if he's gonna succeed. Tomorrow he said, "I'm launching this," and everybody's throwing money. This is no because he has a very strong personal brand, and like you said, Marissa, he's very opinionated. Yeah, he has.
You know what you're buying. You know what.
Yeah. Do you know what he thinks about everything? He does. You won't get confused with him, right? You know.
Honestly, sometimes we need to take that step, like, because it does require a little bit of work. Like, I get it. It's not easy to like build that, but even the exercise of clarifying that for yourself is going to help your business, right? Like, people, you can read people, even the most, not the most intuitive people can sense when you see, two people at out, walking around town, you can tell like, oh, this person has a really good sense of self-respect. This person takes care of themselves. They believe in themselves, right? And you're going to be, try as you might to not, like, you're going to be more inclined to listen to the person that looks like they care for themselves and they believe in what they're telling you, right? And so it's that self-belief, right? It's that being able to show up for yourself and your business by doing this one thing, and it can change everything, truly.
Yeah, and become also is the mindset. I think that sometimes entrepreneurs, we all have this. I'm not good enough. Who am I to be so bold? Things like that. So a lot of so do you do any work also, Marissa, with the mindset with the people because some people want to do it, but they have this blockage, they have this limiting belief that I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too
always
I
we have to unravel those, like, I call them style rules. It's like, well, I don't wear green and I don't wear sleeveless and I don't wear print and I only look good in black, and it's like I would never wear a belt, and it's like, okay, well, like, maybe those are not the most flattering things for you, but maybe it was a snarky kid in third grade who made a comment about your green shirt, and you're giving that, little brat in third grade so much power over your life because of one comment, right? And so it is that psychological process, Harry, of deconstructing like what is true.
I agree
and what
100%.
Yeah.
I agree 100% because sometimes people have this negative belief and these barriers, and they're so deep behind that they don't even know that this exists. But these have a strong impact in your business, in the way that you show up, in the way that people respect it. Then you have entrepreneurs out there that say, Harry, everybody always asking me for discount. Harry, everybody else asking me for this. And I said, look into this and how you're showing up. Yeah. Because if you're showing up in a way that you look worthless, or that you don't work that much, in a way you dress, and in a way that that you show up, then people will ask you for discount. Yeah. For me, I have the opposite problem. Yeah. Don't charge me too much, Harry, please. I'm begging you. I go to your house. Do you need a nanny? What do you need? Do you need shopping? So I have the opposite problem. Yeah. But I think this is because of how you shop and how you present yourself, right? So and what brand do you build with those values and everything? Yeah.
What's the story you're telling?
Absolutely. So Marissa, thank you so much. This conversation went way better than I thought. Yeah, you really know your stuff.
I'm glad I set the bar real low for you, Harry.
Yeah, you really know your stuff. Yeah, I was a little bit concerned because you know a lot of people talk about personal branding, but very little people know what they're talking about.
Sure. Yeah, it's one of
Yeah,
those nebulous.
everybody say, "Oh, I'm a personal branding." Yeah, but this is a topic that a lot of people talk about, but it's very difficult to find someone that really knows her stuff like you do. So I'm so happy
Yeah,
that
good.
we have this powerful conversation. Thank you so much. I think our audience, uh, they have a lot of good information today, and I know your time is very valuable. So thank you so much for
Absolutely.
spending time with us. And from all of you listening and follow us, especially women, yeah. Remember what we shared with Marissa today. Be bold, be brave. One more thing, Marissa, is if a women get, they're listening this or men and they say, man, I really need to work in this stuff. I have enough. So how they can find you, how they can contact you, how this process work?
Perfect. Yes. So you can visit my website. It's marissaalexandra.com, or you can find me on social, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Marissa Alexandra Style.
There you go. If you want to rock and roll, if you want the clients to
come to you,
make you more, if you want to find funding, if you want to persuade an audience, yes, I do a lot of public speaking around the world, and we look very carefully what I'm gonna address on all these big events that we do, because at the end you think that no, but the audience is scanning you from top to bottom all the time. Yeah. So we really pay attention to all these things, and it's important. Like I said, if you learn how to and you embrace this path to improve your visual identity and to work on your personal branding, you will discover that your corporate brand will rock, will go higher, and you will have something with you that money cannot buy. You will be able to do things like Donald Trump that not even with people who with 1 billion, and they cannot donate, and they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, that intangible quality.
Yeah, there is right now also a new prime minister in Argentina. Same thing, a guy coming from nowhere, but with a strong personal brand, and now he's the prime minister. Unbelievable, you see. And because he was very he was clear in the message. That was his message. Everybody knew what was it, and he's a great communicator, right? And he won. And if you can do that, if you can persuade the whole country, mind, if you own a business, how many clients can you persuade to, if you can touch, move, and inspire the people to vote for you, it's going to be easy to touch, move, and inspire them to buy your product. Absolutely. Makes sense? So thank you so much, Marissa. And for all of you following in Spotify and Apple, the podcast, or in our social media, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like Marissa break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.